Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mamadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Rudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are discussing the moksha or liberation, and the liberation is, according to the Advaita, Brahmatma Ikyatva Bodhena Moksha Siddhati Na Anyatha. Only liberation comes only when I have learned that I am Atma is not different from Brahman. So Brahman being infiniteness, I had to recognize I am infiniteness. That is the knowledge. How can I be infinite? And that's what essentially involves the teaching of Vedanta. So Vedanta tells what you really are rather than what you think you are. And this requires an understanding of I am as a Jiva and also Iswara and the world. So Jiva, Jagat and Iswara. This triad or three aspects of this creation that I have, which I am there and the world I see. And since world is an ordered system, there must be a creator, and I bring Iswara. And the Iswara is the one, in order to create, he is the all-knowing and so on and so forth. So from this point where I have a Jiva, an individual, a localized entity, and the Jagat, the world with which I am trying to gather or gain happiness from, and Ishvara, the Lord or the universe, is what is essentially our normal or a devotee's approach to the system. Philosophies are trying to say there is a Lord or God who created this universe, and my role is to realize or to be subservient or so on and so forth. We are, in order to see the equation Aham Brahmasmi, or I am the infinite, therefore it should include both the Jagat and the Ishvara also. And therefore, how can I be Ishvara? How can I be the Jagat? Are the questions that are raised in a rational intellect. And therefore there has to be systematic analysis why you cannot be what you think you are and why you can be infinite, and all that has to be understood. So we have analyzed using the Mundaka Upanishad sloka the definition of Ishvara. Now we are going to more details of the Ishvara, because we have understood in terms of what is a Jiva, because Jiva involves, as we said, there are 5 aspects involved. The main aspect or substantive aspect is the pure consciousness, and the second aspect is reflected consciousness, and the third aspect is reflecting medium. Reflecting medium consists of starting with the Karana Sharira or causal body, then ripples down to Sukshma Sharira or subtle body, and then further grossification as the gross body. So Karana Sharira, the causal body, the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body, and the Sthula Sharira, the gross body. These 3 bodies are reflecting media through which reflection of the consciousness occurs, and the reflection of consciousness expresses itself as Chaitanya Swarupam if there is a subtle body. If otherwise, it expresses just as the existence aspect of it. So the Chit Swarupam is manifested when there is a subtle body, and only Sat Swarupam is manifested if it is only inert material or gross body. So all these things have we gone through. So Jiva involves these 5 aspects. And all the four aspects, that is the reflected consciousness called Chidabhasa, and the three bodies, causal body, the Sukshma Sarira, and subtle body, and the gross body, they are continuously changing, and the only changeless substratum, which is the real part, is the all-pervading consciousness. That is what is getting, and that's what is called Kutastha Chaitanyam from the point of individual. Just as the moon is reflecting the sunlight that is falling on the part of the moon only, we call it a Kutastha Chaitanyam. That is consciousness that is getting illuminated in the local equipment or local subtle body, we call it as the Sakshi. But this sunlight that is falling on the moon is not different from sunlight falling on the Mars or some other planet. Therefore, from sunlight point there is no divisions, although for convenience we say only that part of the light that is falling on the moon is only getting reflected by the moon. Same way, that part of the consciousness that is falling on the subtle body as though is getting reflected, and that's what we call Chidabhasa. Therefore, wherever there is a subtle body, there the reflection occurs, but the reflection, each reflection, although we call it a Kutastha Chaitanyam, but all-pervading consciousness is indivisible. It's only for the convenience we say it is Kutastha Chaitanyam or the original consciousness, that part of it that is reflected in the local entity. From the point of total consciousness, there is no local or the global, and from that point it's only one Chaitanyam, and that is indivisible, and that is essentially what the equation of Tattvamasi. You are that. This I am a conscious entity, I claim. So I am part is coming from not even the reflected consciousness, although reflected consciousness make me to say that I am, because I need a medium of reflection, but the original consciousness is the one that is the substratum. Just as when I want to see my face, I had to see through a mirror, but in the mirror I need my face is reflected there, and when I look at my image in the mirror and looking at the mirror, I can see my face. Without the mirror, I cannot see. Same way, consciousness, all-pervading, need a medium of reflection for it to know that I am all-pervading consciousness. Without the equipments, it cannot know. And also, it need not know also. It's only from the point of a jiva who thinks I am a separate from the universe, he needs the teaching to recognize I am a Kutastha Chaitanyam or Sakshi Chaitanyam. These are all synonyms. Sakshi, Kutastham, all that is essentially referring to that part of pure consciousness that is getting reflected in the local BMI. Therefore, when I recognize that I am part, coming from I is the conscious entity, am part is the existent entity, so I am existent conscious entity, that is original consciousness that is getting reflected, and this has to be recognized by the local mind, because the ajnana or avidya or ignorance is rests in the antakaranam. That's why all these things be analyzed. Therefore, we have went through exhaustive analysis of what is jiva. We also went in the giving of what is Iswara or the Lord or a God. We used the Mundaka Upanishad Sloka 6 in terms of description of Iswara. One of the best descriptions in the whole Upanishad, and that's what we analyzed in terms of exhaustively. It says, Yadadrisyam agrahyam agotram avarnam atachusotram tadapani padam nityam vibhuhu sarvagatam susukshvam tadavyayam yadbhuta yonim paripasyanti dhiraha. So dhiraha paripasyanti. Dhiraha means the wise people can see. Seeing means paripasyanti means see means they understand. So it is a clear understanding of what exactly is this, the nature of Ishvara. So we went through the analysis of it, but if you look, we'll go into more details in the next few slokas of the Mundaka. A clear description of Ishvara is given that we'll take up as a Iswara Swarupam. So in that, it says, Yat adreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshusotram tadapani padam. Up to Nityam, up to that it is description of that Nirguna Brahman. That means Brahman, that is pure Satchidanandam, where it is infinite and therefore it is indescribable. So all the negative definitions are provided as an indicative definition called Lakshartha. Using that, we have to find what is that which cannot be seen, adresyam, agrahyam, what is that which cannot be grasped. So neither the pancha indriyas, the five senses cannot grasp what is God, or five karmendriyas or organs of action cannot grasp, and so on and so forth. So each description is provided to negate whatever that can be grasped, or whatever that can be seen or perceived cannot be God. Because God being infinite, you cannot perceive it. Or if somebody says, I have seen God, that means he has only seen a form in his imagination, what he thinks a God. Even though for my prayers I can invoke him any form, since he is all forms, yet he is beyond the forms. For invocation, for worship, for prayers, for upasana, or for bhakti, I can invoke the Lord in any form, knowing very well that form is not Iswara, but it is a representation of the totality for my conceived for my doing upasana or prayer. But once I understand, and I want to understand the nature of God, then scriptures, depending upon the quality of the student, it goes beyond and says what you are worshipping is not God. So that is really Vedanta. That's why it's science. It says that even though you are worshipping and is okay until you reach a stage, and then it says whatever you worship, that is not God. Why? Because that which cannot be worshipped, that which cannot be seen, because it is adresyam agrahyam agotram avarnam adakshusotram tadapani padam. So it is beyond your perception, beyond your logic, beyond anything that you can think of, and therefore whatever you think of is only finite things, that is beyond. Therefore yan manasa namanute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahmatam viddhi nedam yedidam upasate. Says Kenopanishad, that which mind cannot think of, but because of which mind has the capacity to think of, that alone is Brahman, not this what you are worshipping. So Nedam Yedidam Upasate, not this what you are worshipping is not God. So it tries to take the mind of a bhakta to go beyond. Beyond means beyond his conceptualization of God. So that's why in the first these mantras, in the first the padas or first statements are about the Nirguna Brahma, because Nirguna means that beyond gunas, because gunas belong to Prakriti, and he is the one who supports the Prakriti, but he is not the Prakriti, he is Purushaha. So therefore all that is implied in understanding what exactly God. Now we will look into the next sloka of this Mundaka Upanishad to understand more about the Iswara Swarupam. It says in the sloka 7, and now it says Yadbhuta Yonim Paripasyanti Deraha, that who is the source of the whole creation. That's what was said in the sloka 6 that we defined. It says essentially that Vibhuhu means Vividha Bhavanti, Sarvagatam, that which is pervading everything, and Yadbhuta Yonihi, that which is the source or which is the cause for the creation. So that is a Karanam. Karanam is cause, and everything else, the creation is Karyam. So Karanam is only one, because that's the one from which the whole universe came, and Karyam are many. So varieties and varieties of things that are created, both the conscious entities and as well as unconscious entities in the creation, all coming from one source. That's called Eka Karanam and Aneka Karyam. Karyam is product, Karanam is cause. So it's a material cause also, because it itself became many. So unlike all other religions where God created this world, we ask you, how did he create? Where did he get material for creation? and they do not have answer. But here is Vedanta says he himself became many. So becoming many means he is the material cause also. So therefore, in the description of Ishvara, he is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Shankara says it is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam, is undifferentiated, the intelligent and the material cause of the universe. So one cause, karanam one, and karyam many. So study of karyam, the products of the creation, is what a scientist is doing. He is studying what is there in the creation and trying to find out what is the karanam for it. He is also trying to investigate what is the cause for this plurality. So he is trying to find what are the fundamental particles from which the whole universe came. He goes up to the Big Bang or some singularity, or he will try to find out by banging particles to see that which is indivisible anymore. That particle he is trying to find as the cause for the creation. But in the very inquiry, he is ignoring obviously the consciousness, and for him consciousness comes later as a product of material. So how can inert material gives a conscious entity? It doesn't question, but the very investigator investigating the fundamental material himself has to be investigating his own also, because he is the one who is investigating. So first the validity of the investigator has to be found out before inquiring into the nature of the objective world. So all sciences are only looking at one aspect of it, that's called karyam. Since karyam are many, the investigations are going to be many, because any study in the karyam, or karyam means the products, that means the whole objective world. So every analysis involves lot of the biology, physics, chemistry, everything is in fact is mushrooming the subjects. Why? Because the more I investigate, more it is opening. So there is no end of the knowledge of karyam, because it's infinite, products are infinite, and each one is in depth, and one can go on analyzing and knowing less and less about everything else, and knowing more and more about less and less, and knowing less and less about everything else. Because when I try to be super specialist, my ignorance of all other fields more, because now I recognize even in this field I don't know much, and in every field the same problem also. So my ignorance has become more than my knowledge in any objective world. Whereas here that we are investigating, or Vedanta is trying to study what is the knowledge of karanam itself, not the karyam, but the karanam, the cause, knowledge of the Ishvara, or knowledge of that one which became many. How did it become many, and what is that before it became many? That is called karana vidya, and this is what the scripture calls it is paravidya, the knowledge of one, knowing which I will know all other things. That means I am the knowing the very substratum for the whole universe itself, the very basis for the universe, because eka karanam, one cause, became many karyam, many products. Therefore, eka karanam vijnanena, that means study of one will reveal the study of the knowledge of everything else also. So eka vijnanena sarva vijnanam bhavati. Knowing one thing, I will know everything. I know substantively everything, even though I don't know the individual products of this, the attributes of the varieties of the objects. But I know the substantive knowledge, because that which from which it came, by which it sustained, and into which goes back, that knowledge I have. So that knowledge is Ishvara knowledge, and therefore Vibhuhu, therefore knowing that who became many. So Vividha Bhavanti, Vibhu, the one who became many. So Karanam knowledge will be helping me to know the essential knowledge. Why do I need to know? Because I need to know the cause for everything. That is the intellectual curiosity to know why. And that is why a human being is endowed with the curiosity to know why am I created, what is this world, who is the creator, and what is all that it means. Therefore, all that is required to inquire into, and therefore the scripture gives you more and more details of what is the nature of that karanam. So one karanam was there, which is adresyam agrahyam agotram avarnam and atachusotram tadapani padam, that which cannot be perceived, that which cannot be described, that which cannot be, but still it is there. It is of the nature of consciousness that is defined by the Vedanta, and nature of the consciousness that which exists. Therefore, it's also nature of the existence, and existence, consciousness are same, which with respect to two way of looking at it. So it is Sat and Chit, and it is one without a second. Therefore, it is limitless, and therefore it is Anantam. Anantam means infinite, and therefore it is called Brahman, and Anantam eva Anandam. Infinite, limitless alone is Anandam, and that's what I am looking for. Okay? I am looking for happiness only. So with that statement, now we go to, it says, Yadbhuta yonim paripasyanti dhiraha, from which everything came. So he is the source for it, he is a karanam for it. So from the karyam, I have to discover the karanam. For analysis of, I want to know what is gold, so looking at the ring and the bangle and the necklace, I try to investigate that, because of which bangle is a bangle, or a ring is a ring, and necklace is a necklace, without which ring cannot exist, bangle cannot exist, or necklace cannot exist. And ring can modify to bangle, but this substratum, which is that which pervades that ring and the bangle, cannot change. So it is changeless entity in all the changing things, and that is what is called substratum, and that is conserved in the process. And inquiry into that is required. In the same way, now we are looking at the products and looking back, what is the cause for that, and all that is going to be in terms of viveka. Viveka means a discriminative intellect is required, because he has become many, vibhuhu, he has become many. So therefore, using the many, I have to inquire what is the karanam. So using the karyam, we have to extrapolate backwards to say what was that, because of which that caused this. And every product is indicative of from the source from which one source it came. So any product I can use in order to inquire what is the cause for that. And that's what is Vedanta is trying to analyze now. And now we're going to describe now, says that Brahman, who cannot really create into or cannot become one, because infinite cannot become, but at the same time it is becoming as though. Therefore we have to have a description of what exactly involved in the creation process, and this is done in the sloka 7, and we go through sloka 7, 8 and 9 of Mundaka Upanishad, because the essence of Vedanta in terms of description of the Lord, Iswara Swarupam, is being described exhaustively in these mantras. And here he gives an example of how the creation of both intelligent and material cause comes into picture, because it's one of a kind of this. So when the teacher is teaching, he has to give some examples which does not exactly fit in, but one aspect of it at least uses. So here the Upanishad uses 3 examples to indicate the nature of it, how one became many, and that's what is being to be discussed in the next talk. So we're talking about how the Ishvara using a Maya Shakti creating many, one Karanam becoming many Karyam, and how this Karanam became a Karyam, and some are conscious entities, some are unconscious entities, how one all-pervading existent consciousness which does not become anything yet appears to become anything, and that's what is going to be talked about in the next talk. And we will be going to analyze the sloka 7 and 8 and 9 of the Mundaka Upanishad, the first chapter. So with this, we'll stop here now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.